Speaking of the AFC South, I want to talk about another team. I want to talk about two teams, actually. One in the AFC South. I want to talk about the Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. I set the expectations, I think, way too high for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said in my preseason predictions that they're going to win 14 games. And much of the reason I did that was because I was very, very confident in Trevor Lawrence. Now, truthfully, if you look at Trevor Lawrence's career since being the first overall pick, it's been kind of a disappointment, right? He has not been up to par this year. I will be honest with you. Statistically, Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback by a pretty decent margin this year, right? We can I'm going to give him, a mulligan for his rookie season with Urban Meyer. I will. The first half of last season, he was not good. The second half, he really did turn it on. And I was thinking he was going to ride that momentum into this season and be dominant. And to be honest, the Jaguars' offense is very stagnant. They don't look like a cohesive unit. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look like he is, a certifiable top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And their prized acquisition, Calvin Ridley, really has had like one or two good weeks and hasn't been great since. Now, you can blame Calvin Ridley. You can blame Trevor Lawrence. Doesn't matter, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence is in a really good spot, and he's underperforming. To be completely honest, he's underperforming, right? The defense is getting lots of turnovers. The running game is good with Travis Etienne. He's got, two or three really good receivers. He's got a good tight end. He's got a pretty good offensive line. He's got a really good head coach and play caller. So, work with me, Trevor. Like, what's going on here? This guy, when he was coming into the draft, was billed as the same tier as like Peyton Manning and John Elway and Andrew Luck. And he hasn't been that, right? He hasn't been that. And I wonder if maybe he's a bit of a fraud. I don't know. I'm not going to say that just yet, but I think we might be on Trevor Lawrence fraud watch, unfortunately. So, Trevor Lawrence, I think he really needs to pick it up for the Jaguars because they are a team that should be, I think, winning a lot more games than they are right now. Let's be honest, right? They should have won. To get absolutely pantsed by the 49ers. Not that I think that the 49ers are a bad team. We all know they're a good team. But, I mean, you got fucking pantsed by the 49ers on all levels, right? If you are as good as you say you are, that game should have been a lot closer. That was a home game as well. Like, how are you going to let the 49ers come into your home stadium and just completely just undress you, right? 31 points. It should have been more than that. Brock Purdy looked like prime Peyton Manning. Christian McCaffrey actually didn't score. That's the one thing you did do. But, I mean, the 49ers defense looked like the 85 Bears. I mean, they looked out of sync. They looked like they didn't know what they were doing. The pass protection was getting flimsy. Trevor Lawrence didn't look like he knew where his outlets were. It was a mess. And I think I was too high on the Jaguars, potentially. And that's probably a byproduct of being too high on Trevor Lawrence. Because this season, he has really not impressed me at all. Statistically, he is lagging way behind where I thought he was going to be. And especially when you compare him to a guy like I just mentioned with C.J. Stroud in the division, it's kind of concerning, right? And then you go to a team that is really fraudulent in the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Bills losing 5 of their first 10 games is, I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. Now, they fired Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator, and fair or not, he was scapegoated, right? He was the scapegoat for the struggles on offense. And I'm just curious as to why the Bills don't look like the Bills. Like, they lacked attention to detail on Monday night. They had the fumble, they had the turnover, they had James Cook botching the ball again. The defense looked out of sorts. They had the play that lost it for him was the 12 men on the field. I mean, that's just coaching, right? That's just like a bad team. Bad teams don't execute those big plays, and that's what the Bills were doing, right? So they just look bad. And I want to, for a second, talk about Josh Allen, because the primary culprit for, I guess, this whole thing on Twitter has been Josh Allen's turnovers. And I want to agree, but I also don't, because some of his turnovers are just really bad luck, right? I still think Josh Allen is a phenomenal quarterback. I'm still going to have him as the second best quarterback in the NFL. And I will say, though, that the Bills are kind of falling apart because offensively speaking, you have Stephon Diggs and a bunch of nobodies, right? I don't think James Cook is who he was built to be. The offensive line isn't great. Gabe Davis are still trying to make him a wide receiver too, and it hasn't worked. So the offense is concerning. The defense is injured to all shit right now, but they're also underperforming as well. And you've seen the power dynamic shift this year from the Bills being the heavyweights to the Dolphins being the heavyweights. And while I'm not going to just give the Dolphins a division yet, because the Bills did beat the Dolphins early in the year, and I have to acknowledge that, I will say that they seem like a much more complete team right now. They seem like a team that can win in multiple ways. They seem like a team that doesn't fall apart in games, and they're well coached. I think the Dolphins are one of the most well coached teams in the NFL. And the Bills, a lot of people thought that they were Super Bowl teams this year, and I argued against that, but I did think that they were still going to win the East. I did think that they were going to be playoff contenders, and they are right now not even in the playoffs. Do I think that holds at the end of the year? Probably not. I think they'll sneak in as probably the 6th or 7th seed, especially with a lot of other teams in the AFC kind of faltering. But what a disappointing, decline of the Buffalo Bills, going from the AFC Championship game in 2020 to just a continual decline year after year after year after that. So, I don't think that the Bills are going anywhere in terms of the Super Bowl. I also think that the little contentious beef that Stephon Diggs has with the Bills is annoying, and if he really about that action, then he should leave Buffalo. Might be his last year in Buffalo. It's just annoying. And the Bills, I think, are continually overrated. I'm not going to call Josh Allen overrated because I think he's not working with a whole lot right now, but the Bills and possibly the Jaguars are frauds as of right now.